We just saw Edge of Tomorrow, the new Tom Cruise sci-fi action blockbuster movie. And the way this show works is we do a non-spoiler first pass at what we thought of the movie, whether we liked it or not, to kind of give you an idea of whether you might want to go see it or if it's something that doesn't sound good to you. And then if you do want to go see the movie and haven't seen it yet, you can go do that and stop the video, then come back and check out what we thought of it in more depth. We get into more details, talk about potential plot spoilers and things like that later on in the video. So, what did we think of this movie? Well, this is a really great movie. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot more comical than I thought it would be. And it has a good mixture of comedy to action to sci-fi, just a really good blend of those three things. It never takes itself too seriously, but it also isn't just a complete, farce of a movie either. There's enough grounding, and I think that's why the comedy works, is that you do feel strongly for this world and for these characters, and so you enjoy it when they get a little bit of levity or when something funny happens with the going back in time mechanic. I think one concern that a lot of people will probably have watching the trailer about the movie is, is it too similar to Groundhog Day, or does it get too repetitive? If Groundhog Day bothered you for being repetitive, this movie probably will too. But I felt like it was there because the stakes were so much higher than just whatever Bill Murray felt like doing in Groundhog Day. I think it worked a little bit better here. So I would definitely just go check it out if you're looking for a summer blockbuster. If you've already seen X-Men and some of the other stuff that's out there, but I would say it's right up there with the best movies that have come out this year. So, what'd you guys think?
Yeah, I thought it was very good. I didn't like it as much as Dale. I thought the ending disappointed me. However, definitely there's a lot on screen. It's definitely exciting, and it wasn't boring to me, the repetition of the day, the time sequences and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot to recommend it for. I'm still kind of processing it.
Yeah. What did you think?
Yeah, I really dug it. Nice, solid sci-fi flick. I kind of wish I'd read the book, because I know it's based on a book, so I'd like to be able to comment on that, but I can't.
Like on the adaptation?
Yeah, but I was a little disappointed.
Is it a Philip K. Dick book, or?
I'm not even sure who it is. I never got around to looking it up. I just know it's a book. But I'm with Kyle a little bit. The ending was a little disappointing, but also kind of expected because it's a Hollywood movie. Like Dale mentioned, with the repetition and stuff, and there being higher stakes, I did enjoy that because they sort of baked in an end game. Like, you knew. They let it out early on that this isn't something that's going to last forever. Mm-hmm. Like kind of the way Groundhog Day felt until he figured his way out of it or whatever.
Yeah.
The little comedy beats and stuff, they worked really well. I think another thing that I really liked is they didn't try to explain the whole time travel thing too deeply. They just kind of give a very surface level, this is what's going on, and just kind of let you not deal with it. Like, it's really not that important. Like, yes, this happens, that's fine, so there's not some ridiculous technobabble that you kind of have to swallow. Yeah. Like, it's just enough that this happens, and then the movie moves on. It doesn't try to...
It doesn't give you the nuts and bolts. It just...
Yeah, which would have just lost... I mean, it would have lost some audience because they couldn't follow it, and it would have lost some audience because it would have just been ridiculous and full of holes. So.
Yeah, that's cool. So, I mean, for the most part, we liked it, and the ending that they're talking about, without getting into spoilers, really it's the last 2 minutes of the movie, if that. So, it's very solid up to that point, and I agree that there are people that'll have problems with the endings, and there's two of them right next to me. Anyway, that's our spoiler-free version of the movie. Please don't let us ruin it for you. If it sounds like something you want to go check out, go check it out. Having said that, we're going to dig in a little bit more here.
Yeah. Just get the ending out of the way.
So that ending, I got two problems with the ending. Number one is, why is every alien invasion movie that we can't seem to defeat them, it's always we defeat them because they got some kind of hive mind going on.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. I mean, we've seen
I
it
was-
so many times.
I was kind of hoping that even once they defeated the big bad, that they were still going to have to like slaughter the rest of them.
Yeah, but no,
not
no,
that
no.
they weren't like total unthinking.
If you get the hive
drones.
guy, you magically kill everyone else and they're
Yeah.
powerless, and then you can just attack them with like butter knives. The second thing is to me the ridiculous ending where he goes back 3 days and apparently he's just going into London now. Everyone's magically alive again except the aliens. They're dead, even though it took place before then. So I didn't quite understand it, at least not yet. I'll think about it. But it still just seemed like a ridiculous layer of Hollywood cheese just to give you a nice upbeat at the end and, oh, nobody
Right.
died. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and I'm curious to
Which
know
was
again. I really wish I knew how that.
So
compared
no
to the book.
sacrifice actually took place, which
Yeah.
was the whole point of the
So
movie.
if you're still watching, shame on you for
that's
spoiling
the-
the ending for yourself.
And again,
really,
it's not terribly surprising.
Yeah.
You do expect it.
And
at that
it's
point.
only so disappointing to me because the rest of the movie was awesome. I mean, it's just so many good stuff. I was expecting this really clever ending that,
And probably some people will find it clever, but
maybe.
yeah, my taste would have been the other.
I'd have been fine with them dying. I'd have been fine with just her dying, like with him, somehow surviving
Yeah.
the alien explosion. And I also would have been fine with like him becoming the new Omega.
That's all I could think of.
Mind
As
of it.
I was like, I
kind
am
of
the
what I thought
Omega.
was
That's all I
gonna
could think in
Yeah.
my head.
But the whole hive alien concept, is very reminiscent of like Ender's Game, and lots of other movies have that, or lots of other sci-fi stories.
Pretty much, yeah. So many.
Ender's Game was, obviously a book and series and all that kind of stuff.
Stargate
before.
Troopers did that too, to some extent.
Yeah, I mean
it's a common trope.
It's a common trope, and like we need our science fiction to be in terms that we can understand.
Yeah.
And so the whole hive, the Borg, the hive mind is
It's
a
easy
very
to write, yeah.
yeah, it's a very prevalent theme. It's a very understandable thing that we can wrap our heads around it without them having to like explain.
Yeah.
So I think that made it easier to get through this, like get into the science fiction, and like you said, like without them getting into like, and then they come from this world and they do this,
Yeah.
and there's like some, they didn't have to have like, the Charlie Day character from Pacific Rim show up and like be the mad scientist who understands everything.
Yeah, and I think that would have just made it. I don't think it wouldn't have added anything. It probably would have detracted.
Like the guy that they had that was like Professor Science that knew like what was going on, like
Which
the
wasn't
only
even that
other
much
guy.
anyway, yeah.
Like he just had this very tertiary role.
yeah.
And to be fair, the story is a little bit complex, but there was no voiceover used, which was nice.
Yeah.
It was all told
Not
on
like-
screen,
Not like a crap load of exposition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're right.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, and it's very visual. There's very little of it that relies on the dialogue, which is a good thing when you're talking about a summer blockbuster. It's something that is going to work internationally. That kind of stuff. Tom Cruise is fantastic as usual. I like him in pretty much everything, but he's very good in this. Emily Blunt is phenomenal in her role.
job.
She just like she stands up and strikes that pose that you see in the trailer and that they have in the posters, and
Which
it's
is
just like,
oh yeah.
that's so awesome.
Yeah.
And then like they kill her instantly when she makes that, which is so great. The
That
first
was a
time,
funny, you're like dun dun dun.
dun, what? Who are
Yeah.
you? So cool. The sense of humor with the setting the time back, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I expected there to be a few like funny iterations of that, but I didn't expect it to the degree
Yeah, a
that it
little
Like
bit
when he
of-
rolls under the truck and gets hit by a
Just hear,
wheel.
"Ah!" Yeah, I think they almost certainly had to just borrow some beats from Groundhog Day because it's such a great inspiration. It's hard. It would be hard not to,
yeah.
bring some of that in.
Which
'Cause
I-
I can imagine the book being far more serious and not really focusing on some of those, funnier deaths. So I can imagine they brought that in for the movie.
Yeah, I don't know that it would translate as well.
No,
in a book,
it would be odd in a sci-fi book.
It'd almost be like there I would see where it would like get really annoying.
Yeah, because I could just imagine like little paragraphs over and over, and then I died this
Yeah.
way, and then
I made it this far again and died. I made it this far again and died.
Yeah.
On my 30th try, that also gave it kind of a video game sort of feel.
It really did, especially as like Tom Cruise got better at what he was doing.
Like he became more and more of a mech. Some of the stuff where they got into, because like you said, like when they get to the point where Professor Scientist is explaining, the whole Omega part of it, and they start talking about how he's going to start having visions and all that sort of stuff. That really felt like, the third chapter of a sci-fi video game.
Yeah.
Where like, okay, now we're going to start explaining the world to you. Like now you got the basic mechanics,
Right.
And we're going to start explaining like what you're going to be looking for, as you explore the rest of the world.
Well, I was also thinking it was like a video game because there's the whole sequence where they're trying to figure out how to get off the beach. So he's like, memorizing all the movements of all the mimics and then trying to teach her those movements. And it's like, run 100 meters that way, turn to the right, check your 12 o'clock. And I was like, that's totally like an old school video game. Like you just have to memorize it. There's no other way to do it.
We're also commenting just sort of offhand that the movie is actually more successful of a comedy than A Million Ways to Die in the West, which isn't hard because A Million Ways to Die in the West is a really bad comedy.
You should go watch that review.
But check out our review of that one. But I was watching this one, and it just happens that they're like essentially storming the beaches of Normandy.
Basically,
so this is like A Million Ways to Die on the Western Front.
There were far more deaths.
And there were way more
LS
deaths
Yeah.
than the 12.
Tom Cruise alone had way more deaths.
Yeah. So it's a cool movie. Definitely go check it out. There's really not a whole lot of people I can think of that wouldn't enjoy this movie. Like if you just really don't like violence or
don't like, a lot of people don't like Tom Cruise, but
but
I mean, when it comes to action and sci-fi movies, I'm a fan.
I understand like not liking Tom Cruise like
the guy
as a person, but like not seeing his movies because of that, I think is kind of silly. Like he's great in this role. He's good at what he does. He's a good actor. So yeah, I would say pretty much anybody go and see this. It's one of the few blockbusters that's come along that's not a comic book movie, which that's pretty rare. And it's pretty solid throughout. And I think the ending's really the only sort of wonky thing about it that you kind of look at it and go, why did they have to do that? But they had to do that at the same time. Like it's the Hollywood ending. It's it's the happy ending. And it cleans the movie up. It ends the movie in a nice, clean way that, they're not sitting there, squirming for a sequel or any of that kind of nonsense. So anyway, that's our review. Hope you enjoyed it. Definitely go check out Edge of Tomorrow if that sounds like something you want to see. Now that we've ruined everything. And check out all of our reviews right here on YouTube or at dalemaxfield.com. Thanks for watching.